Frank Skinner. Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. I'm with Alan Cochrane and I'm with Holly Walsh. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
That's like the cricket. Morning, Peter. Morning, everyone. So I had a lovely conversation about cricket last night. I got in a car and on my way home from a gig I did with the Cockerel, actually. And Pakistani driver, we got talking about the Test series in immense detail, stuck in traffic on a freezing cold night. Like a little bit of the subcontinent inside a motor vehicle.
I thought you were going to say what vehicle, then I thought you were going to go a bit...
OK, it was a Ford Galaxy. Get over it.
What was he driving?
It was a Ford Galaxy.
Have you ever been on Top Gear?
No. I've been asked to be the... what is it, people...
Stig?
People in not very... I'm starting to think Stig might have been Chris Huhne's wife. No, I was asked to be stars in something, cars.
Stars in their cars?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it is, but I hate cars. I do. I drive a car, but I have no love for it. Do you know what I mean? I get in it. I just like the idea of sitting down somewhere, and then when I stand up again, I'm somewhere else. That's, for me, is all a car offers.
Your car's your shed, isn't it? We've talked about this.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact there's suites and audio books and stuff, but it's nothing to do. It would work just as well in a small...
I think if you drive a long way, like we're tending to, in the kind of... You go to football, I drive to comedy gigs to play
make me sound like a man of leisure while you're working your guts out.
You're not the coalface of the comedy circuit anymore, are you?
No, I'm in the manor house.
Exactly, yeah.
Father, the men, they're coming up the drive.
But you really need to prioritise a comfy seat in your car if you're a high mileage driver, I think.
Have you got one of those bead
No, I've
seats?
just got a comfy
No, I
seat.
use sweat. That's the only beads you'll find in my car. No, I've never been sure about the bead thing.
No, me neither.
The bead seat.
The venerable bead seat cover. Is that what you meant? That's sort of medieval seat cover. You get. Yeah. Yeah, it's... I don't like the way it incorporates an early translation of the Bible into English. I think it's inappropriate. I find myself reading it when I'm on the road. We've been... we were... Hold on, that's some alternative openings for the first sentence. It's a multiple choice. So, I shared the bill with the Cockerel last night, and not many people share a bill with you. I think you usually insist on them paying, don't you?
I know where this is going on.
No.
I hear it was a bit chippy.
Yeah, you had a pop at me at the beginning. Can you believe it?
It's affectionate teasing.
Is that what it was? I thought this was an example of the mock the weak generation.
Oh God!
Tearing down the old war horse. That's what I thought.
I like the fact that mock the weak generation is like the new Pepsi Max generation or whatever.
Yeah,
What's the old one? What was the one previously?
So Pepsi Max. What?
But remember, when I started out in this business, we were all in it together. It was like the Blitz. But now, there's so much rivalry for people hosting children's television and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Holly used to host children's television, in case you know. No, she's not used to working with real people.
I used to work with a puppet.
Yeah, who was that?
He was
What was he called?
It was called Dunstan. It was a talking brain. It's quite out there.
That's pushing the boat of puppetry, a talking brain. I'm liking the sound of him. I went out with someone who used to do children's television, and she was what my mum would call busty. And unfortunately, every shot of the puppet she worked with was like some grotesque double sort of two-shot with him and one
Three
massive
shot, surely.
breast. Well, no, they just got one in for his close-ups. But it's one of the few... It's probably the only job on the planet where massive breasts are a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say professional potholing.
Tennis.
Well, I don't know. If you're thinking of flotation, you might be glad of that.
Female accordionists.
This has started.
That's quite a lot of jobs.
Female accordionists, you're quite right. I used
Male
to...
impersonators.
I used to... I used to busk as an accordionist, and my big problem was when it rained, which hand to put the umbrella in. Because if you put it in the squeezy box side, you're wet as often as you're dry, depending on the length of the note.
Top tips
There you go.
from Frank Skinner.
There you go.
About accordion playing.
Any accordion playing buskers listening.
Get a hat.
Oh, yeah, but it'd have to be a very peculiarly... What you really want is, you want something that telescopically comes out with the squeeze box. So it covers that when you draw outwards and when you draw inwards. It's a strange old show, this. I'm amazed they've allowed it to run as long as they have.
It's already gone weird today, hasn't it?
Well, I like to think it starts weird.
Absolute Radio. Frank Skinner.
We've had a text in on 8:12:15, Frank.
8:12:15?
Indeed, 8:12:15.
Okay, see what we've got that across now without having to point it out.
Send us any messages.
It's 8:15 as well. What a weird time to get a text in at 8:12:15.
Now you've confused people.
Oh, goodness. Hi, Frank. Hope you enjoyed your sweets last night. That's from a gentleman that gave you some sweets.
Did you accept some sweets from a stranger?
I did, actually, yeah. I did that bravest of all things. I ate fan food. Because there's a theory that every fan that gives you food has injected it with mercury. But no, I met a nice couple outside the theatre, and the lady had gone off to buy me some pick and mix as a token of their affection.
Did you escort her to the pick and mix, watch her put it in the bag, and watch her pay for it and give it to you just so you could be sure?
No, I made my taster heat up half of every sweet I had when I got home. I'm like, people never have tasters anymore, do they?
I imagine the Royals do, don't they?
I bet they don't. I'm going to get a taster.
There's probably a gadget for it now, isn't there? They'll probably just wave like one of those wands at the airport.
I think it would be a fabulous sort of new idea, cool thing to get, a taster. There's probably about me and about 3 sultans in the world who's got them. And just have them hanging around. I'm going to get a female
How many
taster.
times have you used that phrase in the last week?
Me and 3 sultans. It's a good question. Because this has been what my girlfriend calls my birthday week. Actually, doesn't work for me. She has a birthday week in which we celebrate every day. Some way, with presents and all sorts of things. Mine was... I had a sort of birthday weekend, was what I had last week. It's a very nice thing, because I did it... I'm doing these gigs at the Noel Coward Theatre. That wasn't really a plug, 'cause it's the last one tonight. If you weren't coming, don't bother. Don't get all last minute with me. And that's what marketing's all about, isn't it? Announcements like that. But anyway, when I went on for the second half last Saturday, which was my birthday, the entire crowd sang spontaneously "Happy Birthday." It was very,
nice.
Very lovely.
Which version?
To Frank.
I think it was English.
No, did they go for the because there's various different versions of the song Happy Birthday.
Oh, no, they didn't go Happy Birthday to... They didn't do that. Or,
Happy Birthday.
They didn't do that. Or, Happy Birthday, Happy Birthday. They didn't do that. No, if they'd have done that, I'd have been distressed. They did the old-fashioned, you know the tune, They did that.
Someone's got copyright on that tune, haven't they?
Rubbish.
That's another 50 pence off the show.
There was a tricky moment. I think we were all getting tense when we were heading towards the name, because I think there was a Frank. Do we make Frank scan a bit by stretching it, or do we go for Frankie? And some went for Frankie, and some went Frank.
Oh, right.
And it was a horrible crunching sound. Also, I don't know about you, but whenever Happy Birthday's been sung to me, it was sung to me again later that evening in a private club. And I was naked. Made it all different. No, it was whenever someone sings "Happy Birthday" to you spontaneously, it takes me about 10 seconds to run out of facial expressions. What am I supposed to be doing? I thought, I'm standing on stage and people are singing. I thought, should I join in? Should I conduct?
This is the joy of the smartphone, though. After the first 10 seconds, you can just flick through your emails and then come back in for the end of the song.
I thought about that, but it seems so cold.
Yeah, doesn't it?
It's a cold act. So, no, I weren't quite sure what to do with it.
Did you have a cake with candles on?
On my birthday?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I'm a traditionalist. I had more than that. My girlfriend did me a cake. Didn't make it, but she purchased one. But when I went to this club, they brought a cake out. Again, to my surprise. And people in the club who I didn't know at all sang "Happy Birthday."
That's because they wanted cake.
Yeah, and they all got cake.
If you get in on that, you get cake.
They did because it was such a massive cake, everyone in the club. It was the closest I've ever been to the drinks are on me.
Is it?
And people came over after and said, "Oh, that was lovely cake and happy birthday," like I'd bought their best wishes with confectionery.
Nice.
But I was okay with that.
We used to have a system at school where, like primary school, where if it was your birthday, you had to bring in the biscuits. So it wasn't even like everyone else was celebrating your birthday. You had to bring in the biscuits.
I think that's still true at work. That generally, the person
You
who's...
mark your own birthday.
Yeah, the person whose birthday it is has to bring in... I'd
stuff.
book
a day off if I had a real job on my birthday.
No, that would
that
be... You'd
pressure.
be hated if you did that.
I wouldn't mind.
Just don't
that.
mention
I'd
it.
Be fine with that.
Just don't mention it. Nobody cares.
Yeah, but you might get a present. That's always worth mentioning.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Oh God, you know, it swings and roundabouts with
What
that.
was the best present you got this year?
Well, I don't think I could. It wouldn't be right to single out the best or the worst. I mean, I received presents, of course, from the radio team. One fabulous thing was a £25 voucher for a Marxist bookshop in Bloomsbury.
No, I want to speak to you about vouchers.
Yeah, but I must say, I'd happily change my politics to save 25 quid. I'm thinking of growing a beard. That's the way it's going.
Absolute Radio with Frank Skinner.
What were we talking about? Oh yeah, my voucher for the Marxist bookshop. I'm told they sell other stuff. I'm told there's a fascist annex.
I walked past the other day and Jack Dee's autobiography was in it, so I'm not sure. I don't think he's a Marxist.
I don't know. I've never spoke to him about his politics. He looks grumpy enough
to be a Marxist.
Yeah, to be angered by the socio-economic complex. Pardon?
You got other gifts within the pile, as it were. So the vouchers weren't like the be-all and end-all of the gift. But
I don't want to list my gifts.
No, I know, but the reason I want to speak to you about vouchers is I don't know if you remember, but about 3 weeks ago you said you love getting vouchers.
Oh, it's the best gift ever.
It might be the best gift to receive, because you like it because it flatters your sense of ego about you choosing your gift better than the person.
Well, they're acknowledging that I know myself better. Know thyself, as the Delphi Oracle advised.
Well, that stayed in my head since you said it. And my mum's recently had a birthday, and I thought, I'll get my mum some vouchers, like Frank says. He loves vouchers. And there's a sort of an arty recycling shop near my house that my mum likes, and she was coming over. I thought, I'll get some vouchers. So I bought her some vouchers from in there, but I got her £100 worth. That's the problem, is that it monetises the gift, doesn't it? Like, if I'd just bought her a bag from a shop, that could cost £100, but she doesn't know.
I see.
So I give it to her, and she's like, "Oh, I can't accept that, Alan. That's far too much money for me to take. I can't take that. That's £100. Oh, I can't get." And I'm just.
Are
like,
you the Crankies?
My mum's
in
my
your
mum's
private
Jimmy
life?
Cranky. Did I not mention that before now?
That's smashing. Why didn't you just say that's fandabidosi and just accept it?
Well, eventually I managed to. I mean, I had to literally.
So it was too much, was the problem?
Yeah, she was more.
Yeah, but that's the
It's
way.
a sort of strange reversal of normal voucher situations where you think, you know what, I'd only spend 15 quid on that person, and then they see you'd only spend 15 quid. Because that's the thing, you know how much someone spent on you, so the next time you buy a present for them, it's got to be £15 or more, when usually you would have gone to 6.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I suppose
It sets a limit.
What they could do is you could get vouchers that didn't have the price on.
Like those gift receipts. You know, the ones where you get a jumper and you think, I don't like this, I'm going to take it back. But they've given you a gift receipt, so you never know how much it's going to be until you take it back. And then you're like, what? It was that much?
No, but if you got like a sort of credit card that was blank and that was the voucher, and then you went into the shop and then you could walk around the shop holding up items, and the people who work in could shout higher and lower, like
give you a sorrowful shake of the head. No.
Yeah, it'd be like, play your cards right. Lower. Really? Oh.
See, some of the pictures in that art shop are like 400 quid. The woman had just been shaking her head. She'd have got a crick in her neck by the end of my mum's visit.
I tell you, if anyone's listening, give me a voucher any old time.
Love a voucher.
Vouchers are like presents for people who really like money, just don't know what to do with it.
You think?
No, I tell you what it is. It's for me. I will still go into a bookshop and think, can I justify spending $7.99 on a book? Whereas if it's a voucher, it's if I don't spend it, then it's going to go nowhere.
Well, there's
no choice.
Happened. After some coaxing, she went and got herself some things that she wouldn't normally have got herself. So in a way, we won in the end.
Yeah, I'm all for it. And there's a website, isn't there, where you can, if anyone gets you gifts you don't like.
Oh yeah, I never liked it anyway.com or something like that. Yeah.
Isn't that just eBay?
It used to be, but now it's a different.
Well, I like the idea. I've always thought if I got married, I would buy a second-hand wedding ring. I've always decided that.
I was walking down Hatton Wall once. You know the sort of street in London where all the gold sellers are and
Yes.
stuff. And I saw a man taking a wedding ring back.
Isn't it called Hatton Garden?
Hatton Gardens, yeah.
Yeah.
And this guy was taking a wedding ring back in floods of tears. I just thought, would you want to buy that and then give it on to someone else?
I'd have bought that immediately. I'll tell you for why. Have you ever seen The World According to Garp? And a man is buying a house, and just as they're exchanging the deeds, an aeroplane comes, a small aircraft, lands on the house and tears the roof off. And the man selling the house says, I don't suppose you want it now. And he says, no, I want it more now, because what's the chances of terrible accident happening to this house ever again?
Oh, yeah.
And that's how I feel about the wedding ring.
Absolute Radio with Frank Skinner.
Where were we?
I think we were talking about the world according to Garp, weren't we?
Oh, yes.
We've had a text in saying that in the world according to Garp, he says the house is pre-disastered.
See, that's fabulous, isn't it?
Isn't that good? He says here, I love that. The texter 924.
Huh?
So he
Good
and
old
you were on-
924.
Yeah, he's a fan.
See, that's the thing about the listeners to a show like this. It's a case of birds of a feather flocking together. In the end, you get rid of all the chaff.
Separated.
Yeah, we just
Gone.
get... what's that other stuff you get when you're throwing away the chaff?
Wheat.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Did you know that, or was that?
No, I did know it. I just thought... I don't know, just playing with the whole concept of the wheat-chaff contrast.
Well, I've got a game for you if you want a game.
Go on.
Have you seen that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have adopted a 3-month-old puppy?
Now, hold on, which ones are they? That's Kate and Wills,
Kate
isn't it?
and Wills, yeah. They're also known, a.k.a. Kate and Wills. But they've adopted a 3-month-old puppy, and they're not revealing the name of their pet, arguing that it is a private matter. Arguing, the Daily Mail have put.
Like they all went in a room. Please,
I quite
just keep
like
this
this. A little cocker spaniel, and they're saying no. I quite like it because in a way it's sort of everything else about their life is in the public domain, isn't it? If
Yes.
you really wanted to know, you could find everything bar their PIN number, couldn't you?
But what an odd thing to draw the line at.
It is.
The dog name. I will not have that out in the public.
Well, maybe it's an embarrassing one. My first
What, like
pet
working
was,
class scum? It's called.
My first pet was a goldfish called Wum, which I think was because I couldn't say William, or perhaps my brother couldn't say William, so
okay.
it became Wum, W-U-M. And even now, I feel a bit like
That's delightful.
Everyone in the studio is looking at me like, "Yeah, that is embarrassing."
No,
Wum.
I think that's sweet.
Maybe their dog's called
I thought you
Wum.
called it Wum because you used to pierce its tail and then swing it round on a piece of cotton really fast till eventually it went Wum. Wum.
Yeah, we had such a small house you couldn't swing a goldfish.
Oh, God, those were hard times, weren't they?
yeah.
I think they should do... My favourite pet name of all time, I think I might have mentioned on here before, was from the film True Grit, where John Wayne's cat is called General Sterling Price. And I like the formality of that. And that's if you want to have like a royal pet, I mean, you could call it Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth the Queen Mother. Or Earl Mountbatten of Burma. You could have... It'd be nice to have a really formal...
Give it a full handle. Well, my dog is a pedigree dog, and we call her Lucky, but her real name is like Wichita Lacey Moonbeam Goddess or something. So she's got a full handle because she's a. I hope nobody now is going to steal her personality. That I've said it on the.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's why they don't want it, in case
someone will be
Isn't it that
in
if
a
they
jeweller
took-
shop.
If they took it for a walk and people knew what its name was, they'd go like, "Oi, Earl Mountbatten" or whatever, and then the dog would come running over, and then they'd have to go,
Get a lead!
Or they could
Get a
steal
lead.
the dog.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey.
dog stealing is quite common, isn't it?
it is, especially celebrity dogs.
And pedigrees as well. So, you know, they could be thinking, well, we don't want people to be able to call it in case they then put it in
Yeah,
a van.
but this is the royal family. It's not like they're out there in the open. It's just they're constantly surrounded by men with curly leads coming from their ears into their jackets.
That did make me laugh when they said it would be good for her, because when he goes away to work, she'll have the company. I was thinking, aside from the 50 staff in the house, she'll have a dog. Yeah.
What is it? It's sort of give a bone a dog instead of give a dog a bone. She's quite thin.
I think maybe it's called Rosie 47, the dog.
That would be brilliant. I do think it's always sad that dogs don't have surnames.
I love that when you give a dog a surname. I'd like to call mine Elton John or something like that.
I'd like to call mine Martin Henderson.
Martin Henderson.
It's just a name. It just seems like a good dog name.
Mr. Martin
Slightly
Henderson.
distracted because I flicked through my mind thinking, who's Martin Henderson?
No, you could call him after the royal properties. Clarence House, it could be called.
How many dogs do you think are called Fenton or Benton?
Not so many now.
Sam Dringham.
Sam Dringham.
Val Morrill.
Bill Morrill.
Bill Morrill.
Bill Morrill would be a good name for a superhero, wouldn't it? A man who puts right wrong. Maybe he could be a vicar. The Reverend Bill Morrill.
He just gives a condescending look wherever he arrives.
Anyway, I'd like to know if you've got any suggestions for what that dog could be called. Then I think that would be fab. Because you used to get, when I was a young man, you can text us on 81215. There used to be lots of dogs called Prince. That would confuse things. Alsatians were always called Prince when I was a kid.
Now they're formally known as Prince.
Yeah, that's some of the after that one that had that big contractual dispute with Bonio.
And it is nice that they got a Cocker Spaniel in it rather than a King Charles Spaniel. Apparently they won't even countenance the idea of there being a King Charles in the house.
Is that right?
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner. Absolute Radio.
Yes. So, have we had any pet names for the? What are they called? The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge is their official title.
We can call them Kate and Will. So we can go informal on a Saturday morning, surely. We've had various people tell us their pet names. Buckhauser, which I think is a pun on Buckingham House, isn't it?
It's a really tenuous.
Hauser. Yeah.
Well, he's texted in Buckhauser, Colm frozen. Good luck.
Colm. How do you spell Colm?
Colm.
Okay. Maybe that's his name. Colm Frozen.
Yeah, he could just say
is he a WWE wrestler?
I'm out chilly. Maybe Colm is just his first name. I don't know.
And he's frozen. What he's done is
capitalised the F, in case you're interested.
He's endeavoured to get all the information in his dog name, his state of temperature.
Maybe he's so cold that he hasn't got
the...
He hasn't got the energy or the sort of capability to type.
He's slipping
it's his
away.
Last ever message.
Well, he's slipping away, Colm. We should do something.
We should send help.
Frozen.
Well, actually, we could send the text right above it is from Lee, the recovery driver. Perhaps he can help him.
Yeah.
My goldfish is called Dog. That confuses the kids. I bet it does. I bet it does, Lee.
You've done it.
You've done it on purpose,
You've
haven't
got all this ahead of you. You can deliberately call things like objects. Words that aren't. Say you would call a cup a termite or something like that, and just keep saying that, and so your kid will always think that a cup is a termite.
Like people do with foreigners for some sort of joke to make them say rude words to people in the street.
But you can do that all the time to your child.
Yeah, it's a sort of what would have been racist is now just playful parenting.
Well, I moved from Scotland to England as a child, so I had various words that I mispronounced at school in an English accent. I had some Levi's trainer type shoe things that my mum...
Levi's trainers, they're branching out.
They were then. It was the beginning of them branching out. And my mum called them my levies.
Huh?
So I went into school and went, these are made by levies, these. Just,
no.
I used to
You only need one remark like that in school to be tortured for the rest of your life.
Well, I had that and a dead dad, so it was pretty much, that was it for me, wasn't it? There was no way out of that.
Difficult.
Sorry.
Over to you, Holly.
Someone's just texted in to say they have a cat called Citizen Shoes.
I'm liking that.
I like it a lot.
Like shoe? Like shoe?
Shoes. No, shoes is in levies.
Presumably that's right.
Yeah.
Shoes as in levies.
Citizen Shoes, yeah, it's... there isn't an index of... you often see in the paper, like, popular Christian names of the... they probably don't call them that anymore. Popular first names in England and all stuff like that. You never see popular pet names, do you?
No.
We used to name all ours after jazz singers. All our dogs were named after jazz singers, irrespective of the sex, by the way.
Yeah.
So we had Dizzy Gillespie, who was a woman, and Ella Fitzgerald. We just had a whole load of them. They get replaced. We'd give it another jazz name.
Yeah, well, a lot of them are on drugs, so they don't live so long.
What, the dogs?
Yeah, well, I suppose once they get into the whole jazz lifestyle.
The dogs?
Yeah. Did you used to whistle them in like long, elaborate, rambling
We just
whistling?
freestyle.
Yeah. And the dog's there in a beret and shades.
Smoking Goloa.
If only life was that simple.
Absolute Radio. Frank Skinner.
People have been getting in touch, not so much suggesting names for the royal dog, but telling us their pet names, which is nice, isn't it?
I think people are often quite proud of their pet names because they've sort of invented them rather than just dragged them from a general pool.
Yeah,
The way you do with child names.
Someone's saying my cat is called What? W-O-T. What?
That sounds at the beginning of an Abbott and Costello routine. Who's on first base?
What? Yeah. My cat is called What? Yeah. I have a cat called Mouse, so maybe their dog is called Cats from...
Oh, no, it is getting... No, it's getting...
It's slightly
people
existential now, isn't it?
This is
People
just
being
sort of animal
deliberately-
cruelty, yeah.
I don't think they know, do they? Don't they just respond to tone?
Yeah.
If you've got a dog called Tone.
That is the theory. That it is just tone.
It was Tony originally, but we've shortened it over the years. Who needs 2 syllables for a...
We got an email in from a man called Josh from Australia. So there you go, far-reaching listeners. And he says, last week we were talking about your gold tooth, were we not?
Were we?
Yeah.
I think we briefly covered it, either on the radio show or the podcast.
And
They all blur into one.
apparently, the reason why pirates had gold earrings was so that if they were to die, they would be able to pay for their funerals.
If they die at sea, presumably.
Well, I'm sure if they died not at sea, if
Just
they died at sea,
generally.
there wouldn't be much of a funeral.
They'd just
If
flay
they...
them.
So if
Suppose
they
so,
die...
yeah.
So it would pay for their funeral, I see.
But
It's like a combination of those 2 much-loved daytime TV adverts. Michael Parkinson telling you that you can have a free pen and have money to pay for your funeral and cash for gold, all mixed into one. And, of course, the Admiral Insurance one, which gives it the nautical flavour.
it's basically one big daytime TV ad break.
Yeah,
did
but I
question
love
why-
it. It's a good... it's interesting
good.
fact.
He's also given us another interesting fact, because we were wondering why we have wisdom teeth. I think that was on the podcast, and whether or not they affected your wisdom.
Yeah.
And he's put also, the reason for wisdom teeth is that they grow in older age to replace the teeth that would have fallen out in times before dental hygiene.
Oh, I see.
Is
Good
that why
body.
people get ear and nose hair to replace the hair on their heads?
There's gone, you
don't.
do that comb over.
It's quite an elaborate comb over
Straight
that.
from the ear.
I've never seen that done.
How old is it that you have to start the sort of like maintenance of ear and nose hair?
I'll tell you off air. I mean, people are eating. Let's put it that way. I always thought that pirates had those earrings so that on very, very packed ships, they could be let out on lilos and individually moored. Then you just run the rope through the earring.
Or
but I
somewhere
was
for
wrong.
the parrot to sit,
Yeah, but you need a really big one then, don't you?
or a tiny parrot.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there probably are pygmy parrots somewhere out in the... We'll look that up, shall we? Look that
Yeah,
up.
we'll find out.
Anyway.
Absolute Radio. With Frank Skinner.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. I'm with Alan Cochrane. I'm with Holly Walsh. And you can text us on 8 12 15. Oh, well, that's all the domestic stuff done. Now we can relax.
Oh, I've got domestics. I'm 37 next week. 37 years of age, and I'm not sure I'm learning from experience. I've quite seriously burned my mouth this week whilst cooking chili con carne. You know, when you're cooking something, you sort of taste as you go along. And I never learn to take my time and properly blow it, let it cool down.
Oh,
and then
that thing, yeah.
I never do that. I just go, oh, this is good, and I just bash it in while it's boiling. And then I realise, you know, over the process of making a chili con, it takes quite a while. It's quite nice and satisfying, but I end up with a burnt inner mouth.
I hate that. The burnt tongue. It's one of those... There are a few, aren't there? There's the burnt tongue, the paper cut.
Oh yeah, they sting.
Some of the unsung heroes of pain.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a,
the quiet
have you ever had a
torturers.
spot in your nose? Or
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
that
that's
is
just,
a bad one.
Yeah, and that's that. Anything around the nose area, tears are inevitable, aren't they? You go after a spot inside your nose, you're going to cry your eyes out.
yeah.
What about, are you familiar with the stepmother's blessing?
No.
No.
It's what maybe my girlfriend has invented this, but you know at the side of your nails you occasionally get a bit of nail, a bit of skin that catches on absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And you bite it off. It's called, so she tells me, it's traditionally known as the stepmother's blessing.
No.
Why?
I think because of stepmother's blessing. It's ironic. It's one of the few ironic old adages in that a stepmother's blessing is a bit of a curse, you know what I mean? The idea that stepmothers don't like their stepchildren.
Oh.
But they are. See, I always bite it off, but you can never bite enough off to stop it catching.
No,
I find them...
The more you do, the more you need to do it. By the end of it, you've gnawed off 2/3 of your finger.
Yeah. I
that
would
a fact?
rather do that than have a stepmother's blessing thing just catching on everything.
Is that a medical fact, though, that you've gnawed off half your finger by the time you
2/3.
get it right?
You can go for a plaster, but if somebody says, oh, what you done, and you say, I've got this tiny bit of... then you become a
Yeah.
laughing stock.
Yeah, I remember once telling John Bishop that I had a stiff leg from driving. And he just looked at me like, what kind of man are you?
Yeah, he's a bit more male than your average comic.
He's quite macho compared to me, certainly.
I've got loads of things that I should have known better than to do. Like, I should have learned. Like there's
Are
a...
you about to include this show?
There's a light switch in my kitchen that I always assume is in another place. That in the dark, I go to hit it and then realise it's on the
Oh,
other
yeah.
side. But every time I do karaoke, I always forget, and I always choose to do Man in the Mirror because I think this is going to be great. Michael Jackson, everyone's going to love this. I always forget the key change.
Oh.
And then it goes on and on and on, and then you get to the key change. It's the
Never.
worst karaoke song you could possibly do.
Never
and I
forget the
always
key
choose
change.
it and never remember.
I saw an American musician once, and he had a moment like that in the song, and he looked at the audience and said, all gather round for the key change. He made it a moment. I like that. I'll tell you what I've never learnt from. I really find it hard to throw away a biro if it looks like it's got ink in it, even though I can't get it to write. I do that thing, you know, when you go and you write in circles, in really violent circles, to try and get the ink out of it.
Ripping.
Yeah, try and bully the ink out of it. But if I can see ink inside it, I just can't throw it away.
Really?
So it hangs around, and I keep picking it up thinking I'll use this biro, and then I have to do the big squirrels again. Sometimes I'll tear through the paper, that's how
I
how
get
violent it gets.
emotional attachments to pens and plastic bags, especially pens. You know, you get a pen and you really like using it, and you keep using it, and then rarely it dies, more often than not you lose it, and I always get a bit sad about it.
Oh, God, yeah.
Use
But then
it
again,
all
one of the worst things in life is those pens that keep sort of blanking out. So you're writing, and you come to write a letter, and it doesn't write at all. Then you go away and scribble with it, and it's good again. You go back, and it won't write. Do you know that thing?
The worst things in life.
That's
like
one of the worst things
It's
in
like
life.
a bad relationship.
Try saying levies in a school when your dad's dead. Try that.
Well, we're not even. I mean, we haven't even covered the third world. But it's one of the worst things in my life.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
What
I'll tell you
they
what I
call
did.
the fourth
Talking
personal
about the unsung heroes of pain, I used toothpaste straight out the fridge the other night.
What?
And that was anguish.
Why was it in the fridge?
What do you think? So it didn't go off.
Was your tomato puree on the edge of the sink?
On the edge of the sink.
Live in a very hot flat.
I'm working on getting my gums nice and red to make my teeth look whiter. Just like the Gordon Moore's toothpaste of yesteryear. There was exactly that. Bright red toothpaste, make your gums look red. And your teeth, as we used to say in our family, look less yellow.
Absolute Radio with Frank Skinner.
106 has just texted in. I thought a pirate radio station had hijacked your show. Thank goodness it was just the fall. Good work, team.
Marvellous.
I'll tell you another habit that I've got that I still don't... I honestly thought this would have stopped by now. I would say perhaps 3 times a month I get in the bath and realise there isn't a towel in the bathroom.
I thought you said there isn't any water in it. That is cold.
It's
I get in
early
the
onset
bath
dementia.
and I just cry.
That's the coldest I've ever been, is to get in a bath with no water in it. Oh, man, you can't get any colder than that.
What? Why would you do that?
That's personal.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't on my
But-
own.
But that's an annoying moment, isn't it, when you realise, oh, I'm in now. and there's not a towel in this room.
Oh, and you have
It's
to...
infuriating.
And, you know, when you're normally so careful about not walking around the bathroom with soaking wet feet, you try and dry them off. Or do you do that thing when you put your feet on the whatever that thing is called? What's the thing on the floor that you stand on when you get out of the bath?
Bath mat.
Okay, you put your feet on the bath mat and
The
then
mat
you
outside the
wiggle.
bath.
You wiggle so the bath mat goes with you across the bathroom.
You can do that.
But if I forget something, I just think, oh no, it's gone wrong now. I might as well just get the floor.
You might as well not get
Yeah.
a carpet and just do that everywhere.
You just wiggle about on a bath
yeah,
mat.
Yeah,
Okay,
just,
okay,
as soon
so-
as you get in through the door,
I might as well
stand
not
on a
get
bath
any
mat and-
shoes or socks.
Yeah.
Just move around the world like that.
Well, I just
Hadn't
pop,
thought of that. Of course, I could have saved myself a fortune.
I've popped my bath mat on top of a skateboard and trimmed around it, so I just travel everywhere on a sort of a waterproof
An upholstered
plinth.
skateboard.
I just like the
very
idea
comfortable.
of the music playing at night and me coming out on stage on a bath mat. And the audience have to wait while I wiggle my feet from side to side. But that stage will be spotlessly clean by the end of it, so I'm all right with it.
I was watching badminton the other day, like professional, high-level badminton.
Oh, I thought you meant the town.
Is there a town?
There's a town called Badminton, isn't there?
Oh, there's an event, like
Well, town, event. At the end of the day, what's the difference?
and in between,
It's at West Bromwich. It's a town. It's also an event in my eyes. Sorry.
in between every shot, a man comes out and mops the whole of the pitch.
Oh, they bring on a load of
Cool.
paper towels or something, do they?
No, they come out with a big mop and they just mop
An
it
actual
all.
mop.
On badminton?
Yeah, it's like-
Oh, you don't want a wet floor on badminton, surely.
Oh, you could sprain an ankle.
They really are fastidious about their cleaning. I mean, and in between every game, someone comes and sort of hoovers it. And
I think they have to be careful. It's like hospitals with the MRSA. I think badminton was hit by avian flu
see the facility.
because of the feathers on the
feathers?
shuttlecock.
Really?
Yeah, it's quite a danger.
I was in a hotel gym recently, and there was another guy who was fastidiously wiping down the dumbbells after he'd used them. And I was looking at him thinking, they're made of steel, mate, don't worry about
No,
it.
but he's obviously sweated all over them.
From his hands, he's got
Yes.
sweaty palms.
Sweaty palms
That's a
is
very
quite
common
common.
thing.
You're obviously not a churchgoer.
These
The
people-
bit in church when you have to shake hands, I always think, oh God, here comes the clamminess.
Everyone does though. Everyone sits there and goes, no.
That's one of those
When I
songs,
know
isn't it,
when the
when it comes to
handshake is
clamming?
coming in mass, I start vigorously drying my right hand on my clothing. But
Like
no
Vic
one
and
else.
Bob.
But no one else bothers. They're happily hand over a clammy hand.
Oh, well.
I
this
like to
guy
put on
would
a
have
white
gone.
glove, just a single white glove.
That's what the Queen does, of course. That's how she avoids clamminess.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's why the Queen wears gloves, so she doesn't catch anything
I
off.
thought she just was a really good Michael Jackson impersonator.
Well, she's not bad. She's not a bad one.
She's always
not-
stuck in a glass box.
It's not a-
Badminton's a small village in South Gloss.
Thank you very much.
From 824, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
No, I am
Worthy of
pleased about it.
congratulating them.
Let's do the show from there next time.
Okay, yeah. Who needs to go to the Edinburgh Festival? We can go to badminton.
I'm happy. I bet. Is that so? Do we think that's where badminton was invented? In that?
Would it be
threat?
a weird coincidence?
Well, maybe. Yeah, maybe the local townsfolk
rugby was in
attacked
rugby.
a dove.
Actually,
They attacked a dove in the
think
street one night
badminton
with
was-
sticks, and thus badminton was born.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think badminton was started in India.
Really?
Yep.
Well, why would it be called badminton though? Yes,
Is there
exactly.
a town called Badminton in India?
I'm going to write a character who has badminton on one shoulder, giving him evil advice, and goodminton on the other. Two small English villages. And, well, that's the start. I haven't come up with any plot lines
Yeah,
yet. I need to work
workshop
the
it.
character.
Someone
in a
just
song.
texted in to say their dog is called Minton, and he eats shuttlecocks. Badminton.
Indeed. Tim Vine joke.
Is that a Tim Vine joke?
Always the problem with people texting in jokes.
Well, I don't know.
85% of them are always either Milton Jones or Tim Vine jokes.
It might be Tim Vine who texted in. Have you thought about that?
Ian in
from
Chelmsford.
Yeah, that's what he calls himself. If we look at it closely, you'll see it's a pun.
just
But
not
I can't.
a clue.
I haven't worked it out yet.
Frank Skinner. Absolute Radio.
I read a really good story. I saw it on Facebook first of all, and then it became like
Oh,
a.
this is the modern
It
world.
became like a
That sounds valuable.
proper
Facebook.
story in the newspapers. So I felt very pleased that I was one of the early ones to see it.
Social media.
It was the sweetest thing. It's about a letter that was written in to Sainsbury's from like a little. How old was the kid? Like
A 3-year-old or
3.
something. Is this the little kid with the bread?
Oh, it's tiger bread, isn't it?
So sweet, and written in to say that I think tiger bread should be renamed giraffe bread. Tiger bread being sort of like a loaf of bread which has sort of strips all over it.
Yeah, I know tiger bread.
And she,
Yeah.
You go for the tiger bread, did
I
you?
don't often eat it, but I've seen it.
Oh, well...
never
Yeah.
bought it.
You
I've never bought it. I've seen it. I'm aware of what tiger bread looks like, and I think she's right. It doesn't look that tigerish.
So they
But it does look
she said it should be called
giraffe-ish.
giraffe bread. And they wrote in. They
I know
wrote
what
back
she
to
means. It's got that sort of crazy paving look that you get on a giraffe. Mm-hmm. I think it should be called impetigo bread. That's what it looks like. But of course, no one's going to buy it if it's called impetigo. It really does look like
her. What is
impetigo.
impetigo?
Impetigo is a skin disease, and that tends to come in those little patches. But it's got the same roughness that impetigo has
Why don't they
got.
just call it impetigo bread?
Impetigo bread. Now, you see what we've done? We've come to a compromise. And that's how things should be dealt. That's why. See, the child, they only see in black and white at that age. It's got to be named after an animal. You know what I mean? She's gone. I'm all for the idea that the bread should look like what it's called. Take, for example, naan bread. That has that same sort of clammy whiteness and the brown patches that most people's naans have. I think that's a good idea. But tiger to giraffe, it doesn't have to be another. It doesn't have to be one of the big 5.
My wife gets angry about naan bread because apparently in Indian, naan means bread. So it's basically like saying bread.
Ah.
In the same way that people that are interested in koi carp, the fish, get angry because apparently koi means carp.
Oh,
So
really?
you're saying koi.
I once saw on a
Cock.
pub blackboard it said vegetarian chili con carne.
No way.
Yeah, what's
Con
it called?
carne
Con carne means with meat, obviously. Yeah.
Don't bring up chili con carne around this
Yeah,
guy.
even now my
Still-
mouth's sore.
So this,
Squeeze a lime
Because the
juice
trouble
at
is
the
with the
end.
burnt tongue. So you call it the burnt mouth, I call it the burnt tongue. Because for me, it's an attack on the taste buds. You can't enjoy anything once you've burnt your tongue. If I burn my tongue early on in a meal, I'll just give up on the whole meal and just take the thing intravenously. Because you're not going to taste anything.
One of the worst culprits is
I always keep a blender and a hypodermic on the draining board.
the hot tomato on a pizza, innit? That's
a hidden.
burn the roof of the mouth. Very dangerous.
Is that right?
Common hazard.
I've really noticed that, but I take the edge off it with anchovies.
I don't think that they'd necessarily take away heat.
Well, they don't get as hot as a tomato and anchovy. I don't know
but
what it is.
It's still within a molten capsule of meat, tomato and cheese.
Well, look, I can only speak from experience. I mean, don't beat me up about this.
Absolute Radio. Frank Skinner.
We were talking about the names for things, and I was saying koi carp means carp. Somebody has texted in saying the D in D-Day stands for day. So you are in effect saying day. I'm not sure if it's true, Benny, but I like the fact you've popped it in.
Yeah.
It's like that show Surprise, Surprise. You've already said surprise once.
You're
If
right.
they don't, then there's a danger of just calling a whole programme surprise.
I think
Tell me
that.
that.
I think the second one is to calm you after the initial shock.
I think
Surprise! Surprise.
it's just an echo.
Oh yeah, somebody's texted in PIN number, personal identification number.
Yeah. Oh, this is a whole unmined seam of foolishness, of repetition.
Yeah.
Berry, the tropical illness. Berry,
Isn't
okay,
that
get
in-
over it.
Don't they sell that in
Berry.
Nando's?
Berry.
Berry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Like some
there is.
berry sauce.
I don't know. I've only ever been to Nando's
to
once. I
go
hate
with
it.
my
Yeah,
giraffe
right.
bread.
You've
I
only
have.
been once.
I hate
No,
it.
he has.
Why?
I'm saying as if I've been with you.
I hate it.
everywhere.
It was,
You-
and I love chicken in all its manifestations.
Alan's looking at me like, don't mention Nando's.
No, it's
Why
just...
did you have to bring up the whole Nando's
We've
thing?
talked about the card before.
You know, celebrities try to get the black card.
I had the black card for 3 weeks.
No
3 months.
way.
Did you?
Yeah, and my social life went through the window. And then I asked
Through the
them,
Nando's window.
yeah, and then I wrote to them say how much I loved it, and they didn't renew it. So
Why did they
obviously
give
my
you it
star
for
had
3
fallen.
weeks?
3 months.
3 months, but
Yeah.
why? For what?
Just for a treat. They just, I don't know. I got.
Yeah, but then you need a
Think about-
voucher for new jeans.
Yeah,
Because if you're in Nando's every day.
it's one of the healthiest food places.
It's not.
Okay, look,
Is
I've
it?
nothing against that. I just don't like the idea of celebrities begging for free stuff.
Yeah,
Don't we get enough money to buy our own things?
True enough.
Where's Says the man checking his watch. That he was
Yeah, but that was a gift from people I work with. That was an act of love. I went on stage last night. Bear in mind, this is a 900-seater, and somebody shouted out from the way. I didn't even hear what they said, but I found out after. From about row T, somebody shouted out, "Oh, new watch!" Blimey, what are you watching it with? Field glasses.
Elizabeth Duke was in the back row.
Who is Elizabeth Duke?
The Argos jeweller.
The Argos jeweller.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't have known that.
Oh, you've changed.
I love learning stuff. I now know the name of the Argos jeweller.
Someone has said the D&D Day stands for disembarkation.
Oh, well, now we have a dispute.
Yeah, so 756
I thought it was
is going to
for,
take on.
I've always
389.
assumed it stood for damp.
Damp Day.
Yeah, because it was the day that it was like the landing, the sea landing thing.
Or like disembarkation.
No, just damp. The day the soldiers get a bit. Oh, look, enough of this.
Absolute Radio with Frank Skinner.
What else?
Did you hear that apparently just before their recent announced separation, Heidi Klum and Seal, they were a couple.
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, we all know that, don't we? They were a very high-profile couple.
They were lovely. Seemed to have everything.
You all right? What's happened to you?
It often goes that way, doesn't it?
This is not the Frank Skinner I know.
From the outside, you think, God, they just look perfect together.
Yeah.
And you never know
doors,
what's going on.
Well, she apparently, in an interview that's just been released...
Heidi Klum, I call her now.
Exactly. You've hit the nail right on the head, as my mum would say there. My mum, Jimmy Cranky.
Yeah. She usually hit the thumb, didn't she, when she went to hit the nail, just for comic effect.
That was my mum. She's all about the laugh.
Do you remember that Two Ronnies joke about the Queen? He said the Queen, at the... it was like the Ideal Homes exhibition, went on a short, informal walkabout when she hit her thumb with an hammer. Brilliant. Funnier than Morecambe and Wise, I always thought. Controversial, I know. Carry on.
No, Two Ronnies are great. I love Two Ronnies. Anyway, Heidi Klum's interview has been released, and she's talking about how much she's looking forward to renewing her wedding vows again. Wedding vows.
Yeah.
Gone a bit German.
She's German, yeah. I'm renewing my wedding vows.
And yeah, she was gushing away about him, and then it's come out.
See, that's bad luck, isn't it?
Yeah, awful.
Didn't
they could have not printed it, can I point that out?
Didn't Katy Perry and Russell Brand do a similar, not saying that they couldn't be more happy, and then...
Well, it's partly the problem of interviews that come out afterwards. There was also I think after the Tiger Woods thing came out, there was a front cover of a magazine with the Tiger Woods and Obama, and it was like the 10 lessons I would give to Barack Obama by Tiger Woods, and it came out a month after.
I think he should be called Giraffe Woods, anyway.
We've got a letter from a 3-year-old saying that.
He certainly put his head above the parapet. I don't think anyone can... or was it the parrot pit that he put his head above? This is the zoo thing he did. Yeah, he put his head above the parrot pit. I suspect poor old Heidi Klum is going to now get some terrible drugs problem and end up working in the sex industry.
You suspect?
Yeah, that's it. Drugs problem, sex industry. Then she'll write a book called Heidi Hi, Heidi Ho. Oh, what a construction that was.
Yeah, well done. I mentioned this to the producer, and she was saying that the phrase is "putting your mouth on it." That's the phrase. Once you say
putting your mouth on it,
once you've put your mouth on it, and that's like you've tempted fate, and now.
Why don't you just say tempted fate?
I don't know.
Because putting your mouth on it sounds a bit more street, doesn't it? She's very street, the producer.
Very street. Word up.
Yeah. Whereas our last producer was more Coronation Street. Hello, Emma, if you're listening. And regular producer Emma has gone off to have babies and things.
Babies.
The way people do. The trouble is, what is the alternative to that? You have to be optimistic about your relationship. I find generally that women don't like it when I begin sentences, discussing plans, if we're still together.
Yes.
They don't like that, so you have to be optimistic.
I frequently have morbid fantasies about my divorce, my wife. and other couples look at us when I'm going, when I disgrace us and you divorce me, and she's just looking like, oh, he does this all the time. But it's partly my natural tendency is towards fatalism. Of course it'll go wrong. And within that, there's a weird upbeat thing of if I imagine the worst, then it's all uphill from there, isn't it?
But if you consider this godless society we live in nowadays, I can't believe that people say to me, oh, don't say that, you know. Oh, no, that's going to make bad luck. So people still believe in some sort of supernatural doodah.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just that perhaps in your world, you're so used to fire and brimstone that you imagine all that stuff all the time. And then in the secular society, they're like, oh, we don't do that, we're not used to this. Maybe it's that.
I don't think Heidi Klum talking about their lovely relationship has brought the whole thing down. You know?
No, they obviously had cracks in the relationship previous to that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they renewed their vows every year. I can't help but think that in itself would put a strain on. They must have just been bored.
They should just have a annual appraisal, like you do in sort of...
Just a sit-down talk.
when you renew someone's contract and you just sort of go through the good reasons, the good things they've done, the bad things they've done.
Yeah.
It'd be much better to have a sort of parents' evening about your relationship than it would renewing your vows. Just have a powwow.
I think that's a good idea. I'm thinking once a week.
A powwow.
Once a week powwow.
When you get together and just talk about whether it's worth carrying on.
That usually happens to me every time I drink white wine.
Yeah.
Oh, really? It's time for the discussion.
Yeah, the talk.
But it's superstition, the worry you're going to say something and you're going to put your mouth on it. And then it's going to fall apart.
If you like it, then you better put your mouth on it.
I don't think that would have been played on Radio 1.
That's
in
probably
that
another
form.
50 pence out of the show budget, surely.
I heard a great superstition the other day I'd never heard before. Hold your breath when you're passing a cemetery or you'll inhale the spirits of the dead. Whoa! That is
a biggie.
The idea that their paws are in the air, like that P-R-E.
Sounds like a... No, don't worry. Sounds like someone let off rather than a cemetery.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Well, I can't believe you said that on
A lot
breakfast
of
radio.
superstitions do start like that, don't they? There's a common sense approach. It could have just been that they were a bit smelly.
Yeah.
But it's like smashing a mirror gives you 7 years bad luck. That is a design fault. I mean, you thought they'd have brought out mirrors since then that don't have that design fault.
Well, that don't break.
No, that don't give you 7 years bad luck.
I think they have.
The new Mirror 3GS or
I think
something.
you can get
doesn't
them.
have that problem.
Yeah, you can get the non-curse mirrors. I've seen them.
Mirrors were the first product with a natural inbuilt obsolescence. That's basically what that is, isn't it? But,
How do you mean?
you know, like we've got iPods now that break after... Not iPods, other gadgets are available.
MP3 players.
We were talking about inbuilt obsolescence the other day, weren't we? Was it?
Yeah, we were about the toaster.
I never stopped talking
the
about
toaster.
Indeed.
It was my birthday, so I started talking about inbuilt obsolescence.
I like the way you never put an H in birthday.
What do I say then?
Birthday.
Do I?
Yeah.
Birthday? Do I?
Happy birthday.
You're a big fan of Sesame Street, is it?
You've completely made that up. I
It's
can't
my
believe
birthday.
I once did the Glee Club in Birmingham with Mickey Flanagan, and the whole audience kept laughing because he can't say Birmingham. He kept going, "It's nice to be here in Birmingham," and he just kept doing it, not realising why people laugh Birmingham.
Yeah, I tried that at the Glee Club in Birmingham. I got nothing. Can't work it out. Are you familiar with the... when my mum always used to tell, and I can't quite remember this, but I bet our listeners can, that if you had an ornament, an elephant ornament in the house, right, or a painting of an elephant or something like that in the house. People, when I was a kid, houses were crammed with ornaments of all kinds. There was no spare space. You just put ornaments on it, and it was one or the other. If an elephant's trunk was raised, it was bad luck or good luck. I can't remember which one. You had to have them either with their trunks down, if you'll pardon the expression, or trunks up. One was unlucky and one wasn't.
But if it's an ornament, it's stuck like that.
Yeah. I know. So you just didn't have when you were buying your ornament, you thought, well, I can't have that with a raised trunk.
Well,
that's
then,
bad luck.
Why would they ever sell one with a raised trunk?
Because not everyone knew.
Early
so the fools were buying very dangerous bric-a-brac, elephant-based bric-a-brac. Yeah.
That would be a present you could give to your worst enemy.
Yeah, it would, yeah.
Oh, I love this elephant with this
We had
trunk.
a big argument at work. I spent the whole afternoon looking for a raised trunk elephant model.
And that's maybe what happened to Heidi Klum. Seal gave her a present with an elephant with its trunk up, and she thought, this means something.
Or a seal. What about that?
Seals don't have trunks.
Well, they do at our baths. It's a Presbyterian swimming bans.
No nude bathing,
Yes.
even for seals.
Not even for marine creatures. Oh, it's strict. Look, we can't go on like this. It's getting out of hand. Not the Weekend podcast is available to download from Wednesday. That's a completely different show, made especially for you. Next is Mark Crossley, and once again our time has come. And look, if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Ta-ra a bit.
Absolute Radio with Frank Skinner.